Okay, Hare Krishna, welcome everybody.
Hare Krishna,
Let us,
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Let us start. So where we stop, we're in the 13th chapter. I'll just share my screen. So Prahlad Maharaj was traveling on the road, and then he met this Avaduta Brahmana lying there, and he recognized that this is actually a self-realized person. So he inquired from him, Avaduta Brahmana. He also recognized that Prahlad Maharaj is also exalted devotee, so he agreed to speak to him. And now we are hearing what is he speaking about his experience in material world. So what we heard in the last class was that how he abandoned all material activities, and how all material activities are centered around the union of men and women, and that material happiness is not real happiness, and like that how search for happiness in material world is futile, that it's like chasing mirage in the desert. You don't really become happy by trying to be happy. And then how even a rich man, how they are insecure, how they fear, how they are victims of their own senses. And that's why the conclusion was that one should give up desire for material enjoyment, for prestige and money, because they are cause of our trouble in this world. And now we are at the point where he will give examples of gurus, animal gurus, from from whom he learned certain lessons. So this is bumblebee and python. So I'll start reading. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Aneha Paritushtatma Yadricho Panatadaham No Chechchaye Bhavahani Mahahir Eva Sattvavan. So Maha Ahi is a python. Translation: I do not endeavor to get anything, but I am satisfied with whatever is achieved in its own way. If I do not get anything, I am patient and unagitated like a python, and lie down in this way for many days. Purport: one should learn detachment from the bumblebees, for they collect drops of honey here and there. They keep it in their honeycomb. But then someone comes by force, takes all the honey away, leaving the bumblebees with nothing. Therefore, one should learn from the bumblebee not to keep more money than one needs. Similarly, one should learn from the python to stay in one place for many, many days without food, and then eat only if something comes in its own way. Thus, the learned Brahmana gave instructions gained from two creatures, namely the bumblebee and the python. And Vishnu Thakur says he explains what the python has taught him. I sleep, Shaya, patiently, Sattvavan. So here he is saying what he learned from these two animals, bumblebees. All day they are very busy collecting honey, but then somebody comes and takes all the honey away, and then all that hard work was in vain. So what was the point of all that hard work? And the lesson here that one should not keep more money than one needs. Well, I don't know how much practical this is, especially for grihastas. I think grihastas have some provision to keep some money. If you remember Rupa Goswami, when he was leaving his government service, he had some money saved. Although in reality he was not a grihasta, he was not married, but he was engaged as a government servant, and he had some money saved. And when he was leaving to Vrindavan, he distributed that money. 1/4, he gave to the relatives, something like that. 1/4 to the brahmanas, or maybe half gave to the relatives. I don't remember exactly. And some kept for the sake of emergency. 10,000 gold coins he kept for the sake of emergency, and that was used by Sanatana Goswami when he was in prison to bribe the prison guard to escape. So from that example, we see that those who are engaged in material work, like career, job, they who have families, naturally, they save some money. But those who are renunciates, especially, they should follow this injunction. But also for grihasta, there should be some limit. How much one is supposed to save? Sometimes people have millions and they're still saving, and it's not enough, and not enough, and not enough. And some people, ultra rich, they have billions. This is, way too much they can ever spend in hundreds of lifetimes. But still, they keep collecting it. So it is not good for spiritual progress. It's not good for consciousness, because you are taking shelter of all that saved up money, thinking that this money will give me shelter in my old age. It's not Krishna. So you're not dependent on Krishna. You're dependent on your money, on your savings. But the savings that can all they can vanish very easily. Sometimes bank crash, collapse, and the money is gone. Or so many things, how people can lose money. Crypto trading, cryptocurrencies, they go up and down very quick. I heard from a couple of devotees how they quickly earned a lot, and then even more quickly they lost everything. So this is something that is not recommended for spiritualists, regardless of the ashram. And the another animal here we have is a python, staying in one place without really going here and then trying to find food. Like some other animals who are always, like dogs, they always go around and sniffing and searching for food. Python looks like he doesn't do that. So that could be also a lesson for people. Nowadays, it's a trend that everybody travels everywhere, because the modes of transportation, they're very developed. Aircrafts and trains and cars, and it's all very busy. Everybody's moving like ants. If you just watch from above and you look some highway, especially in the West, they have, with 5, 6, 7 lanes highway. In America they have, and thousands of cars, they're just passing by. All these people are going somewhere, doing something, but it has nothing to do with the spiritual realization. They're all very busy in pursuit of material happiness. So in that sense, at least Python is not very much engaged in pursuit of of food, another sort of material happiness. So this is another lesson that we can learn. All this travel is just for sense gratification. If the travel is meant for spiritualization or for preaching Krishna consciousness, then it's justified. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time and creates disturbance to everybody in the society. There are car accidents, airplane accidents, as we had recently, and so many other inconveniences are there due to this travel. In old age, in old times, people mostly they stayed in one place because there were no cars, there were no airplanes, trains, and when they went for pilgrimage, they would travel by foot. Even just 500 years ago, old Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates, they would go to Vrindavan or Puri by walking, and it would take long time, few weeks. So mostly these pilgrimages uh, people would undertake generally once in a lifetime. They would go and visit Chardham, Badarikashram, Rameshwaram, uh, like this. They would go once in a lifetime. It's not that every month they would travel by foot, walking here and there, and they would stay in one place in their own village, and the village economy would be localized. Everything would be available there. There would be no need to travel very far and wide. So this is some simple living, high thinking principles that we can derive from that. All right, so let us.
Just a,
Yeah, Prabhu.
we had a workshop here with Jayadvait Swami, who is writing a book on Vanaprastha
Uh-huh.
as well, and it was because that's an ashram that hasn't really been focused on in ISKCON so much. I mean, yes, we have the other ashrams. There's more work on, but in order to prepare for Vanaprastha, in the olden days, of course, in different times, the other grihasthas, etc., would look after the other three ashrams. That's not the case anymore in reality today. So in grihastha ashram, it's advisable, as you rightly say, to have enough to survive on, because if you are planning on going to Vanaprastha at the age of 50, 55, as recommended in Shastra, means you may have still 20, 25, perhaps 30 years to have to survive without having any earnings, and therefore prudent saving to be able to allow you to do that and visit the dams and everything else, because everything costs money, is prudent advice. So in terms of, as you rightly say, what your necessities are rather than saving more than is required, but planning so that there's enough to be able to survive on is also prudent within the Grihastha. I think that was the
Yes,
outcome
sir.
of that workshop.
Thank you, correct. Yeah, this is good point. If you plan to stop working, you need to have a plan how you're going to live. I mean, in old days, Dhritarashtra, he just went to the forest, or Pandavas, and they lived only on the fruits and roots. But who can do that? Where the forests are now? You cannot really go for Madhukari anymore. Nobody, who can go and beg little food? I mean, in Vrindavan, maybe there are few sadhus who are practicing this. Otherwise, it's very difficult to survive like that. So you need to have some plan, some saving, and some place to stay. People nowadays, they rely on pension. They work, hard for 35, 40 years, and then they have faith in government. Government will give them pension, which generally happens, but sometimes, even these governments, you cannot always rely on. So better to have some plan. Yeah, for the Vanaprastha ashram, definitely you need some saving. Uh, unless one plans to keep working till the end of his life, which is not advisable. All right, anything else here? Santirupa Mataji, you would like to read?
Yes, Prabhu. Kvachidalpam kachid bhuri Bhunje annam swadasvaduva kvachit bhuri gunopetam gunahinam uta kvachit shraddhayoparitam kwapi kadachin manavarjitam bhunje bhuktvatha kashmimschit divanaktam yadrichaya. Translation. Sometimes I eat a very small quantity and sometimes a great quantity. Sometimes the food is very palatable and sometimes it is stale. Sometimes prasad is offered with great respect and sometimes food is given neglectfully. Sometimes I eat during the day and sometimes at night. Thus I eat what is easily available.
Yes, here he is completely, one would say, non-regulated. Sometimes doctors, they advise you, to eat at the regular times, but if you have this lifestyle like this Vaduta Brahmana, you eat only when it's available. It's not that, oh, now it's 2 o'clock lunch prasadam, I have to to have something. Anyway, you can read more.
I should read the second one.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Shaumam dukulam ajinam chiram valkalam eva vase anyadapi sampraptam dishta bhuktushta dhiraham. To cover my body, I use whatever is available, whether it be linen, silk, cotton, bark, or deerskin, according to my destiny, and I am fully satisfied and unagitated. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Vase means I wear.
I know one, you can read more, just 1 second here. I know one devotee in Vrindavan who came there maybe 25 years ago or more. And since then, he had only short, it's like a gamsha, but it's a short dhoti till knees, like, Goswamis used to wear. And during the winter, only he will use chadar, nothing else for, more than 25 years. And he was a Westerner, so you can imagine how uh, difficult renunciation he undertook. Okay, a little more.
Okay. Kvachit chayedaropaste trina parnashma bhashmashu kvachit prasada paryanke kashipo va parichaya. Sometimes I lie on the surface of the earth, sometimes on leaves, grass, or stone, sometimes on a pile of ashes, or sometimes by the will of others in a palace on a first-class bed with pillows. Purport. The learned Brahmana's description indicates different types of births, for one lies down according to one's body. Sometimes one takes birth as an animal and sometimes as a king. When he takes birth as an animal, he must lie down on the ground. And when he takes birth as a king or a very rich man, he is allowed to lie in first-class rooms in huge palaces decorated with beds and other furniture. Such facilities are not available, however, at the sweet will of the living entity. Rather, they are available by the supreme will, Parichaya, or by the arrangement of Maya. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Riddeshe Arjuna Tishtati Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudani Mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. The living entity, according to his material desires, receives different types of bodies, which are nothing but machines offered by material nature, according to the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By the will of the Supreme, one must take different bodies with different means for lying down. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Dharo Pasthe means on the lap of the earth. Medini says, Upastha means genital, lap, and a temple of Kamadeva. So actually, the Avadhuta is saying how he's carrying on in his life, only accepting what is coming before him and nothing else. So Prabhupada in the purport, he is saying that that is the indication of the different kinds of births we have to take according and act according to the body we receive. Sometimes at the birth as an animal, and sometimes it may as a king. So as the animal, we have to act as the animal, lie down on the ground and eat whatever is on the ground. But if in a king's birth, you are allowed to stay in a mansion or palace and enjoy the facilities in it. So that is by the arrangement of Maya. That is not what we want, but we are forced to suffer or enjoy by the arrangement of Maya. So the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart and directing all the wanderings of the living entity. And we are just acting according to the material nature.
All right, thank you. Yeah, this is describing different situations a living entity finds oneself either in different lifetimes or sometimes even in the same lifetime. You know, it's understandable in that in different lifetimes you're born in different circumstances. You know, sometimes in poor family, sometimes in rich family, sometimes in animal body, sometimes in a demigod body or human body, and definitely there'll be different facilities for sense enjoyment in all these different situations that are by our own karma. And sometimes even in one lifetime, like this Avaduta Brahmana speaks, that it looks like that in the very same lifetime, in the same body, he experienced different situations. Sometimes he's just speaking on, lying on the bare ground, and sometimes somebody offers him a place to stay, a nice bed. So he accepts whatever comes without being bothered with it very much. Well, in Varnashrama society, three ashramas that are supposed to be renounced, they are required to sleep on the ground. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a sannyasi, he was sleeping on the ground, and his associates, they were disturbed because he was very skinny, and then they were thinking just lying on the bare ground, his bones are sticking, so it will hurt him. So Jagadananda Pandit, he wanted to make some very nice soft cushion, and he put it in nice cloth. He put some leaves inside. And when Mahaprabhu saw it, he didn't want to use it. He didn't want to use also the oil that Jagadananda brought for him to be massaged on. He just wanted to sleep on the bare ground because this is a duty of sannyasi, tapasya. At the end, I think they made him use some sort of, not bed, but some sort of mat made from cloth to lie on the ground. And of course, yeah, grihastas generally sleep in beds. Vanaprasthas depends what kind of, whether you're poor or rich vanaprastha. But generally, as the people get older, they need, some more comfortable situation. Otherwise, old men sleeping on the ground is difficult. All right, so we can continue reading. Gunraj Prabhu, can you read, please? Gunraj Prabhu, are you there? Okay, he cannot hear us. Chatura Mataji, would you like to read?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Okay. Text
Oh,
41.
are you reading from some Vrinda? Is it you, Chatura Mataji?
Yeah.
Ah,
Arinda is me. I
it's
use
Vrinda.
another name.
I have two names. Okay, so I can recognize
This
that it's
name
you.
is created by myself.
Okay, but your initiated name is Chatura, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. You can read, please.
Yeah, because sometimes my internet is not so good, so I use two devices.
That's good. Okay. And you need also this in China because there is a firewall, not the firewall, the Chinese internet wall. So you need a VPN, yeah?
Yeah.
VPN.
Already many years, the Chinese government uh, uh, did not allow us to visit the foreign countries' website.
Mm. Yeah, luckily a VPN is working, so you can somehow go around that barrier.
Yeah. Otherwise, if we don't use this, we cannot visit the database. We can read the basic only Bhagavat VIcara.
Yes.
And Srimad Bhagavatam we cannot read.
It's such a good government. They are protecting you from all bad Western influences.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, we can continue, please.
Yeah, actually, Chinese has a very good traditional, many traditional. So you are welcome to come here.
Yeah, maybe one day. Maybe one day. I have neighbors from China. She's actually now in China, in Shanghai. My neighbor, first neighbor.
Oh,
Okay, can you read?
text 41. Quachik snato nulita gaha shuva sa sragvi alankritaha rate pasways chari kwapi dikvasha grahava vikpo. Translation. Oh, my Lord, sometimes I bathe myself very nicely, smear sandalwood powder all over my body, put on a flower garland, and dress in fine garments and ornaments, and then I travel like a king on the back of an elephant or on a chariot or horse. Sometimes, however, I travel naked, like a person haunted by a ghost. Continue.
Yes, please continue.
Text 42. Naham nitena cha domi swabhava visamanjanan ete shraya ashashe utte kamyan Mahamani. Translation: different people are of different mentalities. Therefore, it is not my business either to praise them or to blaspheme them. I only desire their welfare, hoping that they will agree to become one with the Silver Soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Purport. As soon as one comes to the platform of Bhakti Yoga, one understands fully that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, is the goal of life. Vasudeva Savan Itisha Mahamasu Dulabhaha. This is the instruction of all the Vedic literature. Vedescha Save Aham Eva Vedya Savatama Parityaja Man Ekam Saranan Raja. There is no use in facing someone for material qualification or blaspheming him for material disqualifications. In the material world, good or bad have no meaning because if one is good, he may be elevated to a higher planetary system, and if one is bad, he may be degraded to the lower planetary systems. People of different mentalities are sometimes elevated and sometimes degraded. But this is not the goal of life. Rather, the goal of life is to become free from elevation and degradation and take to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a saintly person does not discriminate between which is supposedly good and supposedly bad. Rather, he desires for everyone to be happy in Krishna consciousness, which is the ultimate goal of life. Prabhu, please scroll down.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, further. I cannot see the.
No?
No.
Thakur.
Yeah. Now, Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur. Shrayas means that Bhakti Yoga. Utta indicates that liberation. Akamyam is more difficult than attaining the law by Bhakti. Mahamani means in Paramatma. So this two verse describes that as a living entity, this saint sometimes may be treated very nicely by different people, and he may had a very nicely bathed. Maybe will have some fine garments and ornaments, and sometimes he may travel like a king and on the back of an elephant, and but also in the next verse it reminds us that a saintly person should not be cared for the different mentalities of different people. We saintly person, there's no need to praise them or blaspheme them. Just as a sages, just desire for their welfare benefits and to wish that this general people can practice Bhakti Yoga and then set the goal of life as becoming one with the Super Soul. Yeah, that's all, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the one person came to my mind, how he was always satisfied in different circumstances was Srila Prabhupada. If you remember, first he was in Grihastha, working, trying to maintain family. He had that pharmacy business. He was quite active, but somehow it was not Krishna's will that he becomes rich. So at the end, he, gave up the family life when his wife sold his Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, whatever it was, to buy some tea. So he left, he took Vanaprastha, and in this Vanaprastha days and later in Sannyas days, before he came to America, he lived very simply. Very small room, Radha Damodar, only, very, very basics he had, He published some Back to Godhead. He would go to Delhi, sell few copies, and from that money he lived basically, which was very little. And then also when he came to America only with the 40 rupees, for first couple of years, he also lived very, very simple. Not much he had. Only later when the devotees, followers came, then he started to travel, and only when they offered him nice beds and nice quarters in different temples, he would stay there. But it's not that he was attached to it. When he would get, for example, a watch, new watch somebody gave him, he would give away old one. I think something is okay. And when he traveled, although he circled the globe many times, he never traveled business class. When they asked him, Prabhupada, do you like to travel business class? He said, why? Why should I waste money on that? I don't need their, special service, whatever they were offering in the business class on the flights, some special service, drinks and whatever. So he traveled economy class. I think that many gurus nowadays, they travel business class, but no, Prabhupada, he traveled economy class. He didn't see any need to travel business class. So in this way, you see that when person is completely detached from all material enjoyment, he can, accept it if Krishna sends. If not, he doesn't need it and he doesn't wish it, doesn't desire it. Yeah, that was one point that came to my mind, and other point that different people have different mentalities. This is because of all our previous histories as the souls. In many lifetimes, we had different experiences, we accumulated different sanskaras, so we have different minds. And quite often there is some, topic, and you see when devotees that divided on certain issues. During COVID, it was, vaccination or no vaccination, and then politics. Recently, whatever was Trump, those who were for Trump and those who were against Trump. It's just different mentalities, different minds. To some people, one thing looks good, to another people, another thing looks good. But saintly person should stay, away from it. Should go beyond it, and not take part in these taking sides, which are just, material perception of certain happenings. Okay, so we can continue reading. Shailesh Prabhu, would you like to read? I can read Sanskrit if you are available.
Yes, Prabhu. Just a short realization. Whilst I was doing Seva for Janivas Prabhu during the TOVP tour,
Mm-hmm.
he was traveling. He travels very light, as you know. He's a proper sadhu.
Mm-hmm.
Few dhotis, 3 or 4 dhotis, and chadars, and two or three books in his bag. And he was wearing one jumper all the time. It was quite cool. So my wife and I bought him another jumper, so he had a backup jumper.
Mm-hmm.
The following day, when he so he put on the new jumper, and he gave me the old one. I said, "No, Prabhupada, I bought you this as a backup because no, one is enough. Why do I need two?" And it just goes to show, isn't it, that elevated people live simply, and simple living, high thinking, and just he's maintained that simplicity. It was just mind-blowingly pure.
Yeah, it's a very good example of a natural sadhu. Yeah, sadhu, he doesn't see any need to keep two, but many of us would have two, three, four, five. What if happens, if this happens, if that happens, I need to have a backup. But sadhu, no. Thank you for this. Okay, I'll read the Sanskrit, then you can read the English. So vikalpam juhuya chitta tam manasyarta vibhrame mano vaikharike hutva tam mayayam juhotyanu.
Translation. The mental concoction of discrimination between good and bad should be accepted as one unit and then invested in the mind, which should then be invested in the false ego. The false ego should be invested in the total material energy. This is the process of fighting false discrimination. Purport. This verse describes how a yogi can become free from material affection. Because of material attraction, a karmi cannot see himself. Jnanis can discriminate between matter and spirit, but the yogis, the best of whom are the bhakti yogis, want to return home, back to Godhead. The karmis are completely in illusion. The jnanis are neither in illusion nor in positive knowledge. But the yogis, especially the bhakti yogis, are completely on the spiritual platform, as confirmed in the Bhagavad VIcara.
Mamcha yoga vicharina bhakti yogina sevate sa gunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down under any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Thus, a devotee's position is secure. A devotee is at once elevated to the spiritual platform. Others, such as the Jnanis and the Hatha Yogis, can only gradually ascend to the spiritual platform by nullifying their material discrimination on the platform of physiology, and nullifying the false ego, by which one thinks, I am this body, a product of matter. One must merge the false ego into the total material energy and merge the total material energy into the supreme energetic. This is the process of becoming free from material attraction. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. 2 verses describe a process for remaining in this condition to be used by yogis. Vikalpam means various actions. They should be offered into the functions of the mind, chitta. Since these functions are a manifestation of the mind, the functions of the mind should be offered into the mind, in which there is coming and going of various thoughts. Vaikarike means into the false ego. False ego is offered into the Mahat Tattva, and the Mahat Tattva is offered into the Prakriti. Mahat Tattva should be added to this sequence. Quite philosophical, this paragraph. Can I read the translation again?
Yes, sure.
The mental concoction of discrimination between good and bad should be accepted as one unit and then invested in the mind, which should then be invested in the false ego. The false ego should be invested in the total material energy. This is the process of fighting false discrimination. Prabhu, it's best if you summarize this one. It's quite complicated to.
Yeah. Well, whatever you can make up from it, you don't need to repeat it. It's a yogic process that actually bhakti yogis do not really do. But Prabhupada is explaining also from our point of view of bhakti yogis, this merging of different elements into each other. We don't really do.
Yeah, I mean, he summarizes it nicely at the end. He said one must merge the false ego into the total material energy and merge the total material energy into the supreme energetic. I.e., you know, our process essentially is to surrender to Krishna, essentially, and surrender the false ego to him, effectively, I guess.
Yeah, correct. Also, the point of this process described here is to be able to see yourself, to know who you are. And karma cannot, Prabhupada says here, karma cannot see himself because of the material attraction. So because of this misidentification with the mind and the body, he doesn't know who he is. He thinks he's the body. So he cannot see. But Jnani, he's using this process of merging different elements, and he can recognize the real Jnani, that he is the soul, that he's not the body, he's not the mind. And then bhakti yogis, they see even further. They see their spiritual form, not only that their soul, but they see themselves as servants of Krishna, who are serving the Lord in particular rasa. So this is Siddha. They see the Siddha Deha, the perfected spiritual form, those who are realized. So we should also one day aspire to not only theoretically know we are not the body, which is ABC of the Bhagavad Gita and the beginning of spiritual knowledge, but also to realize who we are. And this starts to be revealed to us at the higher stages, starting from Ruchi and Sakti. And then in Bhava, when one reaches Bhava platform, he knows who he is. His spiritual form starts to merge. What is his rasa with Krishna and everything. And of course, one who is in prema, he completely knows who he is and he knows who Krishna is. So yeah, this is the whole point. But we don't need to do this technical merging of different elements into each other. It will happen naturally by practice of devotional service when we reach certain level.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, man. Yes. There's some echo from your device,
Oh.
maybe because you have two devices.
Yeah, sorry.
Maybe one device should turn
Yeah,
off.
it's okay now.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Yeah. My question is, Bhakti Yoga devotee, when they leave the body, there is no need that they merge into this how to say, elements of the material energy.
Devotees, Kali Yuga are not, they're not using this process. This is process of Jnana Yoga. And yogis, so different sort of mystic yogis who practice Ashtanga Yoga and do meditation, they have this process of merging these different elements. But we just engage in devotional service, and then this merging of elements happens automatically. You don't need really to know technically how to merge, your mind into intelligence. You don't need to do, you just engage in devotional service, and then automatically this will happen. Once you reach certain level of consciousness, meaning once you reach high stages of bhakti, and then you will realize that you're not a body, and not only that, you will realize who you are in a relationship with Krishna. And this is the whole point of this. So Gyanis, they do this, and yogis, but still, they have no relationship with Krishna, so they might realize their spirit soul, Aham Brahmasmi, they realize that they're spiritual, they realize they're not the body, but they have no positive realization who they really are, except that they're spiritual, that they're the soul. It's much better than those who are completely identified with the body, but it's still not the final realization.
Yeah, okay, I understand now. And what about just now you say at which stage we can realize ourselves?
Uh,
Ruchi, or
starting from there, your indications of your spiritual form starts to manifest at the stage of ruchi, and then asakti, and then you can actually see yourself completely at the bhava stage. Then you already know who you are. So somehow we need to go through this anartha nivritti. In anartha nivritti, we are still confused with so many things, so many anarthas. There is a strong attachment to material body. We haven't really realized that we are not the body, although we know theoretically. So at least we need to come to Nishta in this lifetime, at least to make sure to come to Nishta, to the steady devotional service where your mind is not swayed anymore by material modes. And then
yeah.
from there advancement will be much easier from the stage of Nishta. But
Mm.
most of the devotees, as I can see, they struggle still on an artha nivariti level. So sometimes it might take a couple of lifetimes. It's not always that everybody goes through it in one lifetime. It can take a couple of lifetimes to go to this anartha nivariti. It's the longest stage. But once one comes to the nishta, it goes faster.
And also, at what stage that devotee can hear the silver soul?
Here what?
Hear the silver soul.
Simha, I cannot understand. Can you say slowly again the word?
I mean, at what stage the devotee can hear the sound of the silver soul?
Super soul, Prabhu.
What is that, Prabhu? Silpaso? I don't know that
At
word.
what stage can you hear the Paramatma speaking to you, the super soul?
Oh, super soul. Okay. Paramatma. I I just heard some silpa soul, super soul. Okay, super soul. At what stage? Well, super soul is not Bhagavan realization. Super soul you can hear at any stage, provided your mind is peaceful enough. Super soul is always there in the heart. It's called intuition, what normal people call intuition. So you might not hear clearly the words, but you can feel, the urge to act in certain way or to say something. That's super soul. Super soul is always telling us, how to act properly. Uh, so it just depends on our mind. If we are too much in the mind and distracted with the mind, we don't hear this guidance of the super soul. But if you want to hear, super soul talking to you like you're talking to your friend, then that's different. That you need higher realization. But otherwise, to get, the guidance from the super soul, anybody who has relatively controlled mind can be guided by the super soul. The super soul is there and silently telling us, just because we are too much disturbed by so many thoughts, the mind is too much disturbed, we cannot hear it. So we can start hearing it even now. We don't need to wait until we come to the very high level of bhakti. You can start hearing it now, but the mind needs to be controlled. For the Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, for one who has controlled his mind, the super soul is already reached. There is that verse. Super soul is order.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of mind control. And then
Yeah,
it will,
what
yeah.
what about just now you say a super soul talk to us?
I mean, if you want to have a conversation, ask super soul this and that, and
Yeah.
but
Is it
it,
possible?
it is possible. But for devotee, actually, super soul, for devotee who is, realized devotee, super soul turns into Bhagavan, into Krishna, and then that devotee can talk to Krishna. Otherwise, super soul is, four-handed Vishnu form. And to talk with him, you need to have a realization. You need to have a relationship, to have developed relationship with God in the heart. If you don't have a
Oh,
relationship, if you don't have developed relationship, you can still hear his guidance provided your mind is controlled. Because he's residing in everybody's heart, so he's giving guidance, even in the hearts of animals. How the birds know when they fly from one continent to another continent during the seasonal, weather changes. How the birds know where to fly and where to find food, because super soul is guiding them, and because they don't have complicated minds, they just follow this guidance from the heart. So
yeah.
similarly, we can
That,
also follow that guidance.
that
This
means one had to reach to the stage of a Shakti, then one can realize one's relationship with the Silver Soul, yeah?
Yeah, that will not be relationship with the super soul. It will be relationship with your worshipable deity, with your Ishta Devata. And for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, this Radha and Krishna. So,
Oh,
yeah, you need to come to the higher stage from Ruchi, Sakti, and Bhava in order to perceive, practically perceive your relationship and perceive who you are in that relationship. Whether you are cowherd boy, or you are manjar, you are gopi, or you are something else. For that, yeah, you need high stage of realization, meaning bhava bhakti.
you mean just in power bhakti we can have
Clear, you have
realization?
you have clear vision. Yeah, you have clear vision and clear perception. It's starting already appearing. At the stages of Ruchi and Asakti, but it's fully realized at the stage of Bhava.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a gradual process. It's a gradual process.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So let's continue reading. Gunaraj Prabhu, are you there now?
Yes, Prabhu.
Somehow your voice is very, very weak. Maybe you need to come closer to the device.
Now it's okay? Still not okay?
Comparing to others is very weak, but we can hear. Yeah, you do your best, and then
Yeah.
you can.
आत्ममानुभूत तं मायां जुहुयात् सत्यद्रुं मुनिः ततो निरीह्यो वीरमत् स्वानुभूति आत्मनि स्थितः. Translation. A learned, thoughtful person must realize that material existence is illusion. This is possible only by self-realization. A self-realized person who has actually seen the truth should retire from all material activities, being situated in self-realization. Purport. By an analytical study of the entire constitution of the body, one can surely come to the conclusion that the soul is different from all the body's material constituents, such as earth, water, fire, and air. Thus, the difference between the body and soul can be realized by a person who is thoughtful, Manishi or Muni. And after this realization of the individual spirit soul, one can very easily understand the supreme spirit soul. If one thus realizes that the individual soul is subordinate to the supreme spirit soul, he achieves self-realization. As explained in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there are two souls within the body. The body is called Kshetra, and there are two Kshetrajnanas, or occupants of the body, namely the super soul Paramatma and the individual soul. The super soul and the individual soul are like two birds sitting on the same tree, the material body. One bird, the individual forgetful bird, is eating the fruit of the tree, not caring for the instructions of the other bird, which is only a witness to the activities of the first bird, who is his friend. When the forgetful bird comes to understand the supreme friend who is always with him and trying to give him guidance in different bodies, he takes shelter at the lotus feet of the supreme bird. As explained in the yoga process, Dhyanavastita tadgatena manasa pashyantiyam yogina. Srimad Bhagavatam 12:13:1. When one actually becomes a perfect yogi, by meditation he can see the Supreme Friend and surrender unto him. This is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, or actual life in Krishna consciousness. Any wise person can understand by analyzing the different bodily material elephants, how the body is made up of. You can understand that there is the soul which is different from this material body. And by understanding the presence of individual souls, one can slowly understand the Supreme Soul, which also exists in the body within the individual soul. That is what is explained in the Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter, that there are two souls sitting in the material body. One is the individual soul and another is the super soul. And the one is eating the fruits of the tree without looking at the guidance of the super soul. When that individual soul recognizes and surrenders to the Supreme Soul, then the self-realization begins. That is where the devotional Bhakti Yoga or devotional life begins.
Thank you. Yeah, you summarized it nicely. Yes, self-realization means a realization of your own self, who we really are. We are the soul, not the body, but that soul also has a relationship with Krishna. So then it's complete self-realization. Otherwise, you just realized your soul, the body. It's a partial self-realization. So only the devotees, bhakti yogis, have full self-realization. Yeah, any intelligent man could just by analytical study come to the conclusion that he's the soul. But looks like the modern day education is full of unintelligent people because nobody is even speaking about the soul. What to speak about understanding that we are the soul, the body? And that's why whole materialistic civilization is geared towards the body only. Nobody is even thinking about the soul. So-called scientists. All right, I'll read again because I think Danshimati says she cannot read. So I'll read. Svatmavritam mayetam te suguptam apivarnitam vyapitam loke shastrabhyam bhavan hi bhagavat Paraha. Prahlad Maharaj, you are certainly a self-realized soul and a devotee of the Supreme Lord. You do not care for public opinion or so-called scriptures. For this reason, I have described to you without hesitation the history of my self-realization. So what he described is his own realization, history of his own self-realization. Purport. A person who is actually a devotee of Krishna does not care about so-called public opinion and Vedic or philosophical literatures. He doesn't even care about the Vedic literatures, see, because he's realized he doesn't need literatures anymore to follow the rules and regulations. And generally, these literatures are written for people who are still conditioned. Karma Kanda section in the Vedas. Why would self-realized person care for any Karma Kanda? He might care for Upasana Kanda a little bit, and especially for Srimad Bhagavatam. But in the Vedas, you'll find so many, scriptures, agamas, upavedas, this, that it's very difficult to concentrate your mind on one thing, because so many things are described in the Vedas. Atharva, Sama, Rig, Yajur, hymns. If one starts reading everything, he just gets completely confused if he's not properly guided. That's why one needs a guru. But once he's self-realized, he doesn't need, literatures anymore to tell him, because he sees the truth directly. Of course, he can use it to teach others. He can use literatures. Continuing, Prahlad Maharaj, who is such a devotee, always defied the false instructions of his father and the so-called teachers who were appointed to teach him. Instead, he simply followed the instructions of Narad Muni, his guru, and thus he always remained a stalwart devotee. This is the nature of an intelligent devotee. The Srimad Bhagavatam instructs, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayayar Yajantehi Sumeda Saha. One who is actually very intelligent must join the Krishna consciousness movement, realizing his own self as an eternal servant of Krishna, and thus practice constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Srila Vishwanath Thakur comments, this knowledge is devoid of people's and scriptural approval from the commoner's point of view, though actually it is not so. However, because you are the great devotee of the Lord, this knowledge is not necessary for you. So he's saying to Prahlad Maharaj that you have already realized all of this. So what I'm talking, you already know. There is no need for you to know. But it's good for somebody else to hear, because it will be recorded in Bhagavatam and we will be reading it. So for us it's good, but it's not necessary for Prahlad Maharaj, because he has direct realization of all these truths. So that's why something bhakti that we practice called Vaidhi Bhakti, the bhakti that is guided by rules and regulations. But there is a higher bhakti, higher stage of bhakti called Raganuga Bhakti, that is that one is not guided so much by scriptural injunctions, but he is more guided by natural taste for serving Krishna. So sometimes, some injunction might be there that he might really neglect, because he is guided by something else that is higher. So scriptural injunctions are meant for neophytes, for Vaidhi Bhaktas. Once one advances further, he doesn't need scripture to tell him that he that he needs to chant the holy names so many rounds, because he has a great taste for chanting holy names. So he's following that anyway, but because of the taste, not because of scriptural injunctions, not because of the order of the spiritual master, not because of any rules and regulations, but because of his natural inclination to serve Krishna. And sometimes he might break some scriptural injunction, but that's not considered a fault for him. But for Vaidhi Bhakta, for neophyte, it will be considered a fault. If he breaks some scriptural injunctions, then he might get a reaction. But Bhakta on a higher stage, he might not. Yeah, like that. So Raganuga Bhakti is our also goal, but we need to come to a certain level of advancement to be even able to talk about it. Always there in the Nectar of Devotion. Srila Prabhupada and Rupa Goswami in Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu, they explain it.
Abu,
Yes, Mataji.
what stage that one can reach to the Raganuga practice?
Yeah, Raganuga practice will start from Ruchi, and Asakti, yeah,
Oh.
Ruchi. I think, yeah, Ruchi there. With Anishta, you're very on a good path, but then once you get some taste, then Raganuga will start. Before that, especially on a Nivriti level, we are bound by rules and regulations. So it doesn't mean that the devotee on the higher stage that he doesn't follow rules and regulations. Mostly he follows, but not out of fear of breaking them. Sometimes we, follow things out of fear. It's a fear-based bhakti because we think if I break some rule, I'll get a bad reaction. If I do this, I will suffer because of this. But Raganuga Bhakti, no, he doesn't care for this. He just does because he loves to serve Krishna. He loves to hear, to chant. He loves to worship the deity. There's so many rules, in deity worship. One should not wear red color in front of the deity. One should not do this, should not do that. So many small details are there. And definitely Vaidhi Bhaktas should follow them. But sometimes, Raganuga Bhakti, he might, out of his absorption in Krishna consciousness, he might neglect some of these lower rules. But we should not imitate that. We should not imitate unless we are on that platform. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's read a little how much time we have. Shantarupa Mati, would like to read again?
Yes, Prabhu. Shri Narada Uvacha Dharmam Paramahamsyam Vai Mune Shrutva Shureshwaraha Ujayitva Tata Prita Amantriya Prayayo Griham. Translation. Narada Muni continued. After Prahlad Maharaj, the king of the demons, heard these instructions from the saint, he understood the occupational duties of a perfect person, Paramahamsa. Thus he duly worshipped the saint, took his permission, and then left for his own home. Purport. As quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 8.128, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Kiba Vipro Kiba Nyashi Shudra Kane Noy, Jai Krishna Tattvavedta Shei Guru Hoy. A guru or spiritual master can be anyone who is well conversant with the science of Krishna. Therefore, although Prahlad Maharaj was a Grihastha, ruling over the demons, he was a Paramahamsa, the best of human beings, and thus he is our Guru. In the list of gurus or authorities, Prahlad Maharaj's name is therefore mentioned. Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Munu Prahlada Janako Bhishma Balir Vayasakir Vayam. The conclusion is that a Paramahamsa is an exalted devotee, Bhagavat Priya. Such a Paramahamsa may be in any stage of life, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha or sannyas, and be equally liberated and exalted. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, thus ends the commentary on the 13th chapter of the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam for the pleasure of the devotees in accordance with the previous acharyas. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 7th canto, 13th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Behavior of a Perfect Person. So, in this verse, Narada Muni is telling that Prahlad Maharaj, after hearing the instructions from the saint, he understood his occupational duties, the occupational duties of a perfect person, which is a Paramahamsa. He duly worshipped the saint and left for his own, took permission and left for his own home. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is quoting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and saying that Kiba Vipro Kiba Nashi Shudra Kane Noy Jai Krishna Tattvavitta Shei Guru Hoy, which means that Guru or spiritual master can be anyone who is well conversant with the science of Krishna. So, although Prahlad Maharaj was a grihastha ruling over the demons, he was a Paramahamsa, or the best of the human beings, and thus he is our Guru. So, in the list of Gurus, which is Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu, Kumara, Kapilo, Manu, Prahlada, Janako, Bhishmo, Balir, Vyasaki, Vayam. So, I think these are the 12 Mahajanas which have been stated. And the conclusion is that Paramahamsa is the most exalted devotee of Krishna, which is Bhagavat Priya. And the Paramahamsa can be in any stage of life, means brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha or sannyas, and be equally liberated and exalted. So this is the end of the chapter, right?
Thank you. Sometimes we have a conception that Paramahamsa can be only sannyasi, but actually here is a good example of Paramahamsa Grihastha, Prahlad Maharaj. And we had many other examples of Paramahamsa Grihasthas. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was the Grihastha, he had many children, but he was a Paramahamsa, the most exalted devotee. And then many of associates of Lord Chaitanya, some of them were Grihasthas, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, for example, Shivas Thakur, they were all Paramahamsas. Of course, we had some renouncing devotees like Swarup Damodar Goswami or Sri Goswamis. They were sannyasis and again Paramahamsas. So it doesn't really matter which ashrama or varna one is in order to be Paramahamsa, to be self-realized. It depends only on personal self-realization. So also it depends on personal realization whether one can be guru or not on one's status in society, one's varna. There is a certain section of society in India, Smarta Brahmanas, who claimed that it's only their right to be gurus, Kula gurus, family gurus. Nobody else should be a guru. Yeah, but it's clearly this is clearly not the case that is supported in Shastra. Here, clear Mahaprabhu himself is saying, Jai Krishna Tattvaveta, whoever knows the science of Krishna, he's the guru, not one who is born in Brahmana family. These are so-called professional gurus. They make business of being gurus, but they're not really gurus. They're not realized. Those Smarta Brahmanas who claim this. Okay, so we have just 5 more minutes. I don't know, chapter summary I could read, and then next class we can start from verse number 1. So let me just quickly read the chapter summary. 14th chapter, Ideal Family Life. Okay, there will be an interesting chapter. This chapter describes the occupational duties of the householder according to the time, the country, and the performer. When Yudhishthira Maharaj became very much inquisitive about the occupational duties for the householder, Narada Muni advised him that the Grihasta's first duty is to be fully dependent on Vasudeva, Krishna, and to try to satisfy him in all respects by executing one's prescribed devotional service. This devotional service will depend on the instructions of authorities and the association of devotees who are actually engaged in devotional service. The beginning of devotional service is Shravanam or hearing. One must hear from the mouths of realized souls. In this way, the Grihastha's attraction to his wife and children will gradually be reduced. As for the maintenance of his family, a Grihastha, while earning what he requires for his living, must be very conscientious and must not undergo extraordinary endeavor simply to accumulate money and unnecessarily increase in material comforts. Although Grihastha should externally be very active in earning his livelihood, he should internally be situated as a fully self-realized person without attachment to material gains. His dealings with family members or friends should be performed simply to fulfill their purpose. One should not be extravagantly engaged in this way. Instructions from family members and society should be accepted superficially, but in essence, the Grihastha should be engaged in occupational duties advised by the spiritual master and Shastra. Specifically, Grihastha should engage in agricultural activities to earn money. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishigo Raksha Vanijam, agriculture, cow protection, and trade are special duties of Grihasthas. If by chance or by the grace of the Lord more money comes, it should be properly engaged for the Krishna consciousness movement. One should not be eager to earn more money simply for sensual pleasure. Every Grihastha should always remember that one who is endeavoring to accumulate more money than necessary is to be considered a thief and is punishable by the laws of nature. A Grihastha should be very much affectionate toward lower animals, birds, and bees, treating them exactly like his own children. A Grihastha should not indulge in killing animals or birds for sense gratification. He should provide the necessities of life even to the dogs and the lowest creatures and should not exploit others for sense gratification. Factually, according to the instructions of Srimad Bhagavatam, every Grihastha is a great communist who provides the means of living for everyone. Whatever a Grihastha may possess, he should equally distribute to all living entities without discrimination. The best process is to distribute prasad. A Grihastha should not be very much attached to his wife, should engage even his own wife in serving a guest with all attention. Whatever money a Grihastha accumulates, by the grace of God, he should spend in 5 activities, namely worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, receiving Vaishnavas and saintly persons, distributing prasad to the general public and to all living entities, offering prasad to his forefathers, and also offering prasad to his own self. Grihastha should always be ready to worship everyone as mentioned above. The Grihastha should not eat anything not offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as it said in Bhagavad Gita 3.13, Yagya Shisthashina Santo Muchante Sarva Kilbishai. Devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food that is offered first for sacrifice. The Grihasta should also visit the holy places of pilgrimage mentioned in the Puranas. In this way, he should fully engage in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the benefit of his family, his society, his country, and humanity at large. So here we heard the summary of the chapter and duties of Grihastas, so we'll go more detail into this. There are many points there, but we'll go more details next class. If nobody has anything else, I think we'll stop here and continue next Wednesday. Is there anything next Wednesday? When is the Ratha Yatra? Not yet. Ratha Yatra is on 27th. So next Wednesday is 25th. I think should be okay. So thank you all and see you next Wednesday. Vanchikalapatrivasya kripasim devevacha. Patitam panim vaishnavim.
Vaishnavebhyo Namah.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Babu, for
you.
your
Thank you,
nice
Prabhu.
association,
Thank you,
for your
Thank
nice
you.
teaching.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.